Okay, good afternoon to one and all. Welcome back to NEET World channel. Today, this is the second demo class that we are going to take after this thing, right? It's already on, right? So, online students, are you able to listen? My voice is audible. Online, please confirm, am I audible? Right, it is audible, right? Good. So, this is the second demo class that we are going to take of this 30 demo classes, right? So, the new students who are watching the first time of my video, so let me introduce myself. My name is Lakshman, I am your zoology teacher, right? So, this thing is about, let me introduce my channel also. We are going to start NEET long term 2027 course. So, these are the free demo classes for you. We are having 30 demo classes. So, these are the 30 demo classes free, and also for the people who want to come and listen offline classes, we are giving 3 days hostel free also. So, free hostel for 3 days also, and also all these demo classes are actually free. So, what you are going to take from our NEET World 2027? So, all are online and offline record classes, and also you have getting study materials, that is our modules, and after that we are giving our class PPTs, and also we are going to conduct chapter wise PYQs, chapter wise unit tests and everything. Finally, before exam, full length mock test also we are going to conduct, right? So, after that we are giving 24/7 teaching assistants. So, these are the things we are getting from our NEET World long term 2027 course, right? So, the next one coming to the faculty is the sir, Dr. Chandrasekhar sir. He is the founder of the NEET World, and myself Lakshman, I am your zoology teacher, right? So, these are the modules which are providing to our students. So, these are the examples of 3 modules, and we can see 3 modules consist of only few topics, which means, so based on NCERT, we elaborate topics, we modified all the topics, we included the topics in separate books. So, which we have 8 modules. In 8 modules we included all the biology syllabus. Understand? Right. So, this is all about the introduction of this NEET World channel and NEET World long term coaching. So, today we are going to start a new topic, that is tissues, animal tissues, right. So, in these animal tissues we are going to learn what are the tissues we have, what are the different types of tissues we have. All different types of tissues are based on what type of classification we categorized all the tissues. That thing we are going to learn, right. So, coming to the first introduction, we have to know what is tissue, right. So, first of all we have to know what is tissue. So, tissue is what? So, generally before going to that, we have to know we have 2 different kind of cells. There is one cell here and there is another cell here. So, this cell is perform all the functions such as digestion, respiration, excretion, reproduction, all the functions of a particular thing, all the functions of this cell is done independently, which means this cell is only the one, it can do all the functions. Whereas coming to this another kind of cell, this cell is not dependent on it is depend on other cells to perform this digestion, respiration, excretion and reproduction, right. Which means there are some cells which can performs all the type of function on its own. There are few type of cells which cannot perform all the functions. So, we can give 2 names, such as these are unicellular cells, which means these cells can perform its own function, whereas these are multicellular cells, which means this cannot perform all functions on their own. They has to depend on what? Depend on other cells, to perform its function. So, such multicellular things or multicellular animals are having what? Many number of cells. For example, let me introduce one thing which is called as protozoa. you all know about protozoa. So these are what? Single cell animals. For example, just take amoeba. Amoeba is single cell, having its nucleus, having its all cellular organelles. It will only with made up of only one cell, it will do all type of functions. Whereas if you take multicellular animals, we are not single cell animals. We are multicellular animals. For example, for what? To do one function, for example, to do one nerve impulse transmission, there are different kind of cells has to interact. For example, nervous cells. In nerval cells, we have microglial cells and Schwann cells, oligodendrocytes. So these are the different kind of cells which have to interact with each other to perform one particular function. So the difference between unicellular and multicellular is these unicellular cells can perform its all functions by only one cell, whereas these multicellular animals, they perform their function with interacting with different kind of cells. So the different kind of cells or the same kind of cells interacting with each other and forming one group of cells is called as what? Tissues. So that was the introduction of the sentence. You see, what is tissue? One single cell or similar kind of cells which we are forming a group of cells, and that group of cells performs one similar function. That one group of cells performing one similar function, those group of cells are called as what? Tissues. Understand what is tissue? Why tissue is become popular? Because unicellular animals does not forming any tissue. Even though they are made up of more number of cells, they are not forming tissue. There is one example all you know about sponges. Sponges are having different types of cells, right? Such as choanocytes, spinacoderm, and different kind of cells sponges are having, but they are not forming any tissue. That's why we placed sponges as where? Single cellular level of organization. That's good, cellular level of organization. Because of the formation of tissues, we developed highly complex animals. So tissue is nothing but what? It's a group of cells which interacting with each other. Because of the interaction only, these group of cells are forming what? One tissue. After that, we will see a group of tissues are going to become one thing which is called as organ. A group of organs which we are going to perform one physiological function, that is organ system. Likewise, there is an individual, like so on. So today we are going to discuss what is tissue and what are the different types of tissues that are there in this living world, right? So we understand, if you see here, so it is telling acellular animals. In acellular animals, all the functions like digestion, respiration, excretion, reproduction are performed by single cell only, acellular animals such as protozoans. Whereas in multicellular animals, the same functions can be performed by a group of cells, a different group of cells in a well organized manner, right? So we have pancreas, we have alpha cells, beta cells. It's all performing one similar kind of function with a group of cells, right? Next one, this study of tissues of the structural organization functional is called as histology, right? Just it was the study of the tissues is called as histology, right? So the next thing is what the tissue is made up of. Tissue is made up of cells and extracellular matrix. So for example, if you see, this is one cell and this is one cell and this is one cell. So these three cells are interacting with each other and we are calling it as tissue. So this is one cell, this is another cell, this is another cell, and in between if you see, what is this? It is matrix, which is called as extracellular space. In between cells, it is having one intracellular space, right? So this intracellular space is only we are calling it as what? Matrix. So this matrix plus cell giving rise to what? Tissue. Understand what is tissue? Tissue is made up of what? Cells and also extracellular matrix. So what it is, what the actual extracellular matrix contains? Extracellular matrix contains different types of cells. We will study what are the different types of cells, right? So in this NCRT, in this class, we are going to study this epithelial tissue. We have different kind of tissues such as epithelial, connective, muscular and nervous tissue. In this all different kind of tissue, we are going to learn today about epithelial tissue, right? We have four different kind of cells, four different kind of tissues. What are the tissues? Epithelial, connective tissue, muscular tissue and nervous tissue. In this class today we are going to discuss this epithelial tissue. Understand? We'll see. So if you see the definition, if you see the word of epithelium, epi is nothing but what? Upon, which is also called as outer, outside. So thelium is nothing but growing. So there are some cells which are growing on outer surface of an organ or outer surface of any body. So these kind of cells are called as what? Epithelial cells. They are growing on outer surface layer. So that's why they are calling it as what? Epithelial cells. If you see, for example, let's take any example such as gut. If you see, there are some cells which are present inside also. There are some cells which are present inside also. There are some cells which are present outside also. The cells which are present inside, to the body cavity, these cells are called as what? Linings. What they are called? Linings. The cells which are present outside of the body, these are called as what? Coverings. So there are some cells which covers the body, which means they are present outside of the body, which are present towards environment side. Or there are some cells which lines the body, lines nothing but which is present inside the body, which is present inside to the body cavity. So understand, there are two kind of cells which covers the body, which lines the body cavities. So that's the second point. So these epithelial cells forms outer covering of the body also, inner lining of the internal organs or body cavities also. Understand the first property. Next one, very important, these cells are held together by an intracellular something material which is called as what? Cementing substance. Which means if you see these two cells are holding together with some kind of attachment. So that attachment, for that attachment there is one molecule, there are some molecules which are helping. Those molecules are called as what? Cementing substances. In scientific way we call those cementing substances called as what? Junctions. In specialized junctions, for example, this is one cell and this is one cell. In between two cells, this area, this connecting area between two cells is called as what? Junctions. So based on some properties, these junctions are classified into three categories. Very important one. Based on some properties, these junctions are classified into three junctions. The first one is tight junction. The first one is what? Tight junction. The second one is desmosome junction, or third one is gap junction. There are three kind of junction which are very important. First one is tight junctions and desmosome junctions, and third one is gap junctions. Let's see each and everything. The first one is tight junctions. If you see, there are two cells, there are some holes which is nothing but channels. There are some channels inside the cell. So because of the channels, all the fluid was going out from this channel, right? All the fluid was going out to this channel. So we need to stop the fluid outside of the channel. outside of the cell. So to prevent the leakage of this fluid, we have some kind of proteins which are helping to prevent this fluid. So those proteins or those junctions are called as what? Tight junctions. See, for example, if you want to pack anything, so what you will do, you will tie a tape very tightly. So with that you can what? So anything which is present inside that box, it will prevent the entry of that whatever material is there. Likewise, so if you see this cell is tight packly with some proteins. They didn't mention about the proteins here, but they mentioned in desmosomes. So there are some proteins which packs the cell very tightly. With that, what happens? There is no fluid will come out of the cell, which means it will prevent the leakage of the body fluids. So that type of junctions are called as what? Tight junctions. Here you need to remember the examples. Each and everywhere, whenever you are looking tissues, you need to remember what is the tissue, what is the definition of the tissue, what are the examples of the tissue. These things only you have to remember. If you remember these three things of each and every tissue, you can definitely get one question perfect correctly, which means you are getting 4 marks. Definitely you will get 4 marks because of this single formula. Just write the tissue name or the junction name and define the tissue or define the junction and remember the example. This is the only formula for this animal tissues. Just make a flow chart of all the tissues, definitions and examples. That will help you to gain the one question. Understand? See, the tight junctions, the definition is, it is preventing the leakage of the body fluids. What is the examples? Sweat glands. So they mention these two cells are held together by specific proteins, but they didn't mention about the specific protein name. But for example, if you see here in second type of junction in desmosomes, they mention the name of the proteins. We'll see what is desmosomes. We saw whenever the two cells are present, so what happens? These two cells, to prevent the leakage of body fluids, we have tight junctions. The first one is over. The second one is to hold the cells together properly. So whenever the cells together hold properly, then only there will be a connection. If there is no holding together properly, then there will be no connection. For example, there are some chemicals, there are some molecules here, they has to transfer to the next cell. If you see in some plants, there is a plasmodesmata kind of thing, there is a channels. Likewise, so there are some molecules here, they has to go to the another cell. So without holding the cell together properly, we cannot transfer. So to hold together, to hold the cells, two different cells together, we have some proteins. Those are called as, those junctions are called as what? Desmosomes junction. So what are the proteins? This is very important. The proteins are intermediate filaments. Here they mention the protein name. And what is the intermediate filaments is made up of? Keratin. But here they didn't mention, they told about only specific proteins. But here they mentioned it is made up of keratin proteins. These desmosomes are responsible for what? What they are responsible for? Anchoring and adhesion property. To hold together. That was the function of these desmosomes. These desmosomes junction are also called as what? Anchoring junctions or adhesion junctions. Two junction names which are called as anchoring junctions and adhesion junctions. Responsible for what? To hold together, to hold the cells together. That was the only function of these desmosomes. Whereas the tight junction function is to prevent the leakage. So that was the two things of two junctions. So right, so you need to remember the example also where these desmosomes are present: epithelial cells and muscle cells. right? Next one, the last junction is gap junction. So if you see, this is one cell and this is another cell. Here there is some gaps. Through this gap, what happens? These molecules are going to transfer from one cell to another cell, which means these two cells are communicating. These two cells are what doing? Communicating. So for the communication, we required one junction which is called as what? Gap junctions. Understand? So we required one junction which is called as what? Gap junctions. See, they provide continuous cytoplasmic channels between the adjacent cells. Adjacent cells are nothing but what? These two cells are adjacent. So for the communication, these junctions are present. So we have plant cells, right? So from root to shoot, this water has to transfer. So this is a continuous pathway. So here we have some junctions called as gap junctions. So from this water is going to transfer. Likewise, so these gap junctions are responsible for what? Communication. So what we are transferring through these communicating junctions or gap junctions? Ions, sugar molecules, amino acids. So these are the molecules which are transferring from one cell to another cell, right? So the brightness is perfect. I hope the brightness is perfect. Just see, this is the total brightness, right? See, the gap junctions, the example for the gap junctions present in where? In cardiac muscles. This was the previous bit, I think 1 year or 1 and 2 years back. So they asked from gap junctions. So the gap junctions, the functions or example is where? Cardiac muscle. They allow rapid conduction of impulses or depolarizations. For that, these gap junctions are responsible in cardiac muscles. So we have depolarization, sinoatrial node contraction, all kind of thing happens in heart, right? So for that, these gap junctions are responsible. So we saw three junctions. One is tight junction, another one is desmosomes, or also called as anchoring junctions, or also called as adhesion junctions, which are responsible for the attachment, which is responsible for to prevent the leakage of body fluids, and here this is responsible for the communication, right? These three junctions are very important. Just remember junction name, definition, example. That is enough, right? So with these junctions, if you see, so we have tight junctions also, we have gap junctions, we have adhesion junctions. With this, we can continue this epithelial tissue. So this epithelial tissue, whenever you see, this epithelial tissue is generally derived from which layers of the germ layers? So it is derived from three layers: ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm. So this epithelial tissue is derived from all these three layers. Understand? So we know, right? In gastrula, we have three different types of layers. One is ectoderm, inner layer is endoderm, and middle layer is mesoderm. All the body parts, all the body tissues, all the body organs are arising from these three layers only. For example, if you see this ectoderm, skin, nervous tissue is going to arise from this ectoderm. Likewise, in mesoderm, connective tissue, muscle, blood, bone, this kind of cells or this kind of organs are going to form from this mesoderm. Coming to the endoderm, only gut, intestine, all these alimentary canal, internal gut, internal body cavities are arising from this endoderm. Likewise, this epithelium tissue is arising from all these three layers: ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm. But there is another tissue which is called as connective tissue. It is only arising from mesoderm, right? So whenever you see this epithelial tissue has one layer which is called as basement membrane. This basement membrane was divided into two types or two parts. One is basal lamella, another one is reticular lamella. If you see basal lamella, it is the top layer of this basement membrane which is lies towards epithelium tissue. For example, this thing is basement membrane. One side of this basement membrane is lies towards epithelial tissue. This is called as basal lamella. So the side which is laying towards the epithelial tissue is called as basal lamella, or the side of the basement membrane which is lies towards the muscle tissue or connective tissue, it is called as reticular lamella. If you see, it is close to epithelial tissue, basal lamella, whereas if you see here reticular lamella, it is close to the connective tissue. So that was the thing. So we have basal lamella and reticular lamella. If you see this thing, very important point, this epithelial tissue is avascular, which means it does not having any blood vessels. Does not having any blood vessels. Then how this epithelial tissue is getting nutrition, getting food, getting oxygen? Because of this connective tissue only. This connective tissue, the main purpose of this connective tissue is to supply blood or to supply nutrients to the epithelial tissue through the process called diffusion. Diffusion is the one process which is happening here. With that, what happens? This connective tissue is going to give all the nutrients to this epithelial tissue, right? Next one, if you see, there are some modifications of epithelial tissue. There are two modifications. One is microvilli, another one is stereocilia. So what it is microvilli? For example, initially this is one cell, right? Initially this is one cell. We'll draw here. Initially this is one cell. If you see the surface area from here to here, the length is only 5 centimeter. Just for understand. For example, there is some modification happens. There is some modification happens. Now what happens? It was like this thing. It was have some projections like this thing, and now what happens? If you see the surface area, it is not exact 5 centimeters. It going to increase. The surface area was increased, which means whenever it is in a normal cell, the absorption, whatever the function is doing, this cell is only up to the 5 centimeter surface area. Whereas the modified cell here, what happens? The surface area was increased, right? The surface area was increased. When the surface area was increased, what happens? The absorption rate also increased. So there are some modified cells such as microvilli or stereocilia. This one modification is microvilli, that kind of projections which are responsible for the absorption. So that kind of cells are called as microvilli. So what happens with that microvilli? Whenever the microvilli cells are present, it gives an increased surface area to the particular cell. Whenever the surface area was increased, then there is an increase of absorption. Then what about this stereocilia? This is also kind of this thing, but that is not helpful for absorption. This is helpful for locomotion or some movement. For example, if you remember, we studied human reproduction. So here this is fallopian tube, and here this is an ampullary kind of thing. So here ovary is there. From ovary, whenever ovulation happens, egg was released. Now what happens? This egg was captured by this ampullary part. Now it was traveled to this fallopian tube and reached to a uterus. Right? So how it was traveling from this ampullary region to along with this fallopian tube? Because this fallopian tube have some modified epithelial cells. Those are called as what? Stereocilia. This is for helpful for what? Motile function. So who are the cells which are non-motile? These stereocilia are helping to the non-motile cells. See, stereocilia are long non-motile cells like processes seen in reproductive tracts or internal hair, responsible for the movement of some molecules. Understand? So those are the two different kind of modified cells. If you see microvilli and stereocilia, this microvilli, this is small projections which are responsible for the increase of the surface area. By this we can increase the absorption rate. The best example is intestine. Next one, this is kind of this long tube. This is not responsible for the absorption. Stereocilia is responsible for the movement. Long non-motile cells which is seen in reproductive ducts such as fallopian tube, all kind of things. So these are the two modified epithelial cells. Understand? This was the general properties of epithelial cells. Now we are going to see what are the different types of epithelial cells are there. Right? The first type of epithelial cell is what? Simple epithelium. There are generally two types of epithelial cells. One is simple epithelium, another one is compound epithelium, or you can call it complex also. So on what basis we classified these epithelial cells into simple epithelium and compound epithelium? Based on number of striata. The meaning of striata is simply called layer. Based on number of layers, we classified the epithelial cells into two types. One is simple epithelium, another one is compound epithelium. Sir, what is simple epithelium? If the layer is made up of only one layer of cell, see, if the layer is made up of a single layer, then it is called a simple epithelium. If the layer is made up of two or more than or multiple layers, then it is called as what? Compound epithelium. Simple, one is simple epithelium, another one is compound epithelium. Simple epithelium is made up of single layer, compound epithelium is made up of two or more than number of cell layers, right? For example, there is one layer. This epithelium is made up of one layer. So this one layer is responsible for what? With this one layer, we can easily absorb something. With this one layer, we can easily send out some molecules, right? Or this thing process is called as diffusion. We can filter something. Likewise, this single layer has many functions. What are the functions? If you see, it is helpful in diffusion. With one layer, we can easily diffuse some molecules. With one layer, we can easily absorb some molecules. With one layer, we are doing filtration. And with one layer, we are doing secretion. Like this simple epithelium was involved in these all functions, right? So in this simple epithelium, based on the nucleus, based on the shape of the cell also, this simple epithelium was classified into different types. The first thing is simple squamous epithelium. Simple squamous epithelium. If you see the cell here, these cells are flat tile-like. These are not having any perfect shape. These are like flat tile-like, and these are irregular also, right? So these are flat tile-like cells. If you see the cell, the nucleus was placed in centrally, and the shape of this nucleus is also like ovoid shape. So based on this only, we have categorized all the cells. For example, if you see, simple squamous epithelium is a single layer of flat tile-like cells, and the nucleus is what? Ovoid nucleus, which is placed centrally. This thing only you have to remember. Tissue, definition, examples. What are the examples? Mainly remember endothelium of blood vessels and lining of the alveoli of the lungs. These two are given in NCERT. So endothelium of all blood vessels having simple squamous epithelium, and also lining of the alveoli of lungs. These two are responsible. These two are many important in NCERT, right? And you can remember all the mesothelium body cavities of pleura, peritoneum and pericardium. So these are the layers of body organs, right? Bowman's capsule of nephron. that was the simple squamous epithelium. Next one, simple cuboidal epithelium. The name which was given because the cells are in cuboid. The cells are in cuboid in shape. So that's why we are calling these cells are called as what? Simple cuboidal epithelium. These are like what? Cube-like cells. Here also the nucleus was placed located on centrally, and if you see the nucleus, it was circular, which is also called as spherical in shape. The nucleus is spherical in shape, located centrally, and cube-like cells. There it is flat like, located centrally but ovoid nucleus. Here it is spherical, located centrally, cube-like cells. And where it is located? Germinal epithelium, and also all the proximal distal convoluted tubules. In this, they mentioned one specific point, key note point. What is that? Cuboidal epithelium of proximal convoluted tubule of nephron has what? Microvilli, because for absorption of this all filtrates, all fluids. So this is one of the most important point you have to remember. In PCT, we have cuboidal epithelial cells. So which are simple cuboidal epithelium layer is present in where? PCT. This was the bit in excretion. So here it is not necessary, but in excretion they will ask what type of cells are present in PCT. We generally remember it is microvilli, also called as brush border epithelium, but they will ask what? Cuboidal epithelium or simple epithelium, or some kind of options they will give. You need to remember simple cuboidal epithelium which has microvilli, also called as brush border cells. That was the thing you need to remember. Next one, there is another kind of cells which are called as what? Simple columnar. Here if you see, the cells are like long. These are like pillars. These simply called as columns. So that's why these cells are called as what? Simple columnar epithelium. Right? If you see, this is also single layer. If you see the cell, it is tall and slender like cell. If you see here, the nucleus are placed where? Not central. It is placed at basal end, downside. So that's why if you see, these are single layer, tall and slender, that's okay, and oval nucleus located at where? Near the base. So that's why we studied the location of the nucleus in previous two tissues also. These two in the above two tissues, the nucleus was placed on centrally, but here it is base, near the base. And the first tissue shape is ovoid, second tissue shape is spherical, third tissue space is oval in shape. If you see, in between there is one kind of cell which is called as globlet cell, which is secreting some mucus protein, These proteins are present in mucus. Those are the proteins. What is the protein? Mucin is present in this mucus protein. So this mucus protein or mucin, which is secreted by which kind of cells? Globlet cells. Understand? If you see, it has some mucus secreting globlet cell in some places. So that was the simple columnar epithelium. But based on the type of modified epithelium, we have two different kind of cells. One is what? Ciliated columnar epithelium. Another one is non-ciliated epithelium. We already discussed two modified cells. One is what? Microvilli. Another one is what? Stereocilia. If the epithelium is modified into cilia, then it is called as what? Ciliated columnar epithelium. If the epithelium is not having cilia, it is modified into microvilli, then it is called as non-ciliated columnar epithelium. See, ciliated columnar epithelium having what? Cilia. So the examples of, you need to remember, fallopian tubes, which is very important example for NCERT, and also bronchioles, very important example for this NCERT. Likewise, non-ciliated epithelium, which is having what? Without cilia, but having what? Microvilli. So the best example is, we have intestinal cells for the increase of absorption. Understand the layers, understand the tissues. We discussed three different kind of tissues. One is simple squamous, generally present in blood vessels and alveolar linings, and cuboidal epithelium, generally present epithelium, germinal epithelium, PCT, DCT. PCT we have special kind of microvilli. Next one we have what? Columnar epithelium. Cilia is present on where? Bronchioles and fallopian tube. Non-cilia, which is called as microvilli, present at where? Intestine. So this is the simple different types of simple epithelium. Whereas coming to the compound epithelium, we have different areas which are present in compound epithelium, such as skin. We have compound epithelium, which is also called as stratified keratinized squamous epithelium. Keratinized is nothing but strong, compound, stratified also strong. And if you see stratified non-keratinized squamous epithelium present at where? Vagina, esophagus, buccal cavity, pharynx. So in NCERT you don't require all these things, but remember there is compound epithelium, more than one layer of cells. So this compound epithelium present at where? That thing you need to remember. It is present at where? Skin, buccal cavity, pharynx, esophagus, vagina, and also linings of the larger ducts, such as salivary glands, ducts of sweat glands, pancreatic glands. There you can see stratified cuboidal epithelium. And one of the most important thing you need to remember is there is a translational epithelium which is present in urinary bladder. Sir, what is this translational epithelium? The thing is, see, we have urinary bladder, we have a capacity called as, generally we have capacity, for example, 50 ml of capacity, remember 50 ml of capacity. So this urinary wall is made up of this translational epithelium. Whenever the bladder is going to full, then what happens? This, because of this translational epithelium, the capacity is going to increase, for example 50 to 500 ml. So because of that property, the layer, the cells which are present in this urinary bladder, those are called as what? Translational epithelium. This is the most of the important point you need to remember from this compound epithelium. Understand? So that was the simple classification. One is simple epithelium, another one is compound epithelium. Next one, very simple. Based on the production of the certain cells, we are having unicellular glands or multicellular glands, right? This simple epithelium or else this epithelial tissue are modified as some glandular kind of cells. So what is, one is unicellular glands and multicellular glands. We already seen some kind of columnar epithelium are there. In that, one cell is called as what? Globulet cell. This globulet cell having some proteins, it is only releasing those proteins. So this cell is acting like what? Gland. So this one cell, single cell acting like as gland cell. So that's why these globulet cells are called as what? Unicellular glands, which means these are isolated glandular cells such as globulet cells, which are releasing all these properties, all these chemicals or proteins. For example, there are group of cells, these group of cells united together and start releasing their substance, then it is called as what? Multicellular glands. If you see, this single cell is only acting like as one gland and it is releasing this substance. So such way this unicellular gland, the example is globulet cells. Whereas if you see, we have different types kind of cells. All these different types of cells are interacting with each other and releasing all the substance. So those are called as multicellular. You need to remember only the examples, no need of definitions, everything. Unicellular glands, example is what? Globulet cell. Multicellular glands, examples are what? Salivary glands. That only you need to remember for the competition. We are not writing any IPE kind of thing. We are only for competition. So unicellular glands, example is globulet cell. Multicellular glands, example is salivary glands. Why I am telling? Because to understand. Why globulet cells? Because there is one cell which is releasing mucus. So that's why globulet cells. Why salivary glands? We have different type of salivary glands. All the glands perform one function which is releasing saliva. So that's why different type of cells grouping called as one gland, which is called as multicellular gland. Likewise, you need to understand. Next one, we have two type of gland. One is exocrine glands, another one is endocrine glands. Very simple definition. Exocrine, nothing but having ducts. Endocrine, nothing but these are ductless, which means from one cell to another cell there are ducts are present. So through that duct it is going to transfer their enzymes or kind of hormones. For example, there is one cell, it is not having any duct, the target cell is here. So these are not having any ducts. What they will do, it will release their substance in where? Bloodstream. Through this bloodstream, it will transfer to the target organ. So this kind of cells are called as, this kind of glands are called as endocrine glands, and this kind of glands are called as what? Exocrine glands. Just remember the examples. Exocrine glands are what? Digestive enzyme glands such as oil, milk, salivary glands, all these things. Endocrines are majorly hormones. Hormonal glands are endocrine glands. Understand? If you see, there is duct. With this duct, all these cerebrally substance are going to release out. Here there is no duct, so directly it is connecting into the blood vessel, it releasing it here in blood. Through this blood, the hormone is going to travel to the particular tissue or particular organ, right? Next one, very important thing, based on mode of secretion. For example, if you see this, all these things, you need to observe few things. For example, this is also one multicellular gland, this is also multicellular gland, this is also multicellular gland. It is also releasing some kind of proteins, this is also releasing some kind of proteins, this is also releasing some kind of proteins. What changing? What is the difference between all these things? If you see here, it is releasing all the proteins without any integration or without any disturbance to the beside cell or neighboring cell. If you see, there is a little bit of disturb, or there is little bit of a top layer of the cell is pinched off. For example, if you see, there is whole cell was dissolved. So based on the mode of this thing, we classified multicellular glands into three different kind of cells. One is what? Merocrine glands. The example you need to remember, merocrine glands, pancreas. If you see, without the loss of other cell, is there any loss here? No, there is no loss. For example, next gland, apocrine gland, example is mammary gland. If you see, apical part of the cell is pinched off. If you see, the top portion of the cell is called as what? Apical portion. This apical portion is going to pinched off. There is small amount of disturbance happens. So that is called as apocrine. If complete cell, that's why it is called as hollow. If complete cell is going to disturb, then what happens? These holocrine glands are formed. Examples are what? Sebaceous glands. Entire cell is going to discharge. So based on the mode of secretion, we have three different types of glands. One is merocrine, apocrine, holocrine. Just remember, holo means complete cell. Example for the holocrine is sebaceous glands. Example for the apocrine is mammary glands. Example for the merocrine gland is pancreas. That thing you need to remember, right? So that was the whole thing about epithelial cells. We discussed types of epithelial cells and also types of glands also we discussed. So based on that, we have few MCQs which are coming in this NEET examination. These are all PYQs. For example, if you see, this is one NEET PYQ. If you see, they gave in all matchings tables. These all tissues will come in matchings only. So squamous epithelium, ciliated epithelium, glandular epithelium, compound epithelium. They are asking what? Examples. Just see. I just tell what is squamous epithelium is responsible. Leave these options. Option D or B? 4, 2. 1 or 4? 2 or 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyway, this ciliated epithelium is what? Inner surface of fallopian tube, right? Ciliated epithelium is inner surface of fallopian. Next, goblet cells of Elementary canal. These globulate cells we see in unicellular thing, unicellular glands, multicellular glands. We see this thing. C is one. Let's see next one. A is what? This squamous epithelium, we saw simple squamous epithelium in that first one example is what? All blood vessels, endothelium of blood vessels. A is what? 3. Next remaining D is 2, compound epithelium, inner lining of pancreatic ducts. Not only pancreatic ducts, we have salivary ducts, sebaceous, this mammary ducts. All these things we have what? Compound epithelium. They are not asking any different kind of things. Only they are asking tissue examples from compound epithelium. So compound epithelium is inner lining of pancreatic duct, whereas glandular epithelium is globulate cells. We have simple, we have multicellular. The simple is responsible for the globulate cells of elementary canal, and we have multicellular such as mammary glands are there, examples. That's how you need to remember. Yeah. Next example, same they are asking but different options. See, yeah? We'll see. Unicellular glandular epithelium, same thing they are asking the globulate cells of elementary canal. This was the next year PYQ. These are all PYQs only. Just remember next one. D. Yes. Answer is what? Answer is what? So unicellular glandular epithelium is what? Globulate cells of elementary canal, and multicellular glandular epithelium and compound epithelium is there. Just remember this endocrine glandular epithelium, endocrine function is where? Pancreas. So just do the pancreas. Next one, multicellular, salivary glands. Unicellular has globulate cells, multicellular has salivary glands, and compound epithelium is what? Moist surface of buccal cavity, vagina, esophagus, skin, inner linings of ducts such as pancreatic duct. All these things are compound epithelium. So the answer is what? C. Right? Simple only. Whenever if you remember the tissue, definition, example, this formula only will work for all questions, right? Next one. Now they are asking this. They gave the locations. They are asking what? Tissue. So here we have included 2 more connective tissues. So let's go to the next question. After connective tissue discussion, we will solve this question. That was the answer of D. No problem. Which of the following types of epithelium is present in bronchioles and fallopian tube? Ciliated epithelium. Ciliated epithelium is present in where? Fallopian tube and bronchioles. Stratified squamous epithelium. What? Skin. Stratified squamous epithelium. If they mention stratified keratinized squamous epithelium, it is skin. If it is non-keratinized squamous epithelium, it is buccal cavity, ducts, all these things, vagina. Simple squamous epithelium, endothelium of blood vessels, and also this lining of alveolar cavity. Next, simple columnar epithelium. If it is ciliated columnar, if it is non-ciliated columnar, we have 2 examples. Ciliated is this thing, ciliated epithelium, and non-ciliated is what? Microvilli. So that's how. See, this bronchioles and fallopian tube exclusively is present in ciliated epithelium. So these are the different NEET questions coming from this chapter. I hope you understand well. So from tomorrow we will discuss remaining type of connective tissues which is present in this animal tissues, right? So for today it was done. I hope it was clear. If there is any doubts, you can chat in this chat box, right? Thank you.